Welcome back. Of course, the big question now is what's happening to the security situation in the country? We heard about the Baragoi killings, Tana River. Very recently, we heard of the Busia Bungoma killings, and now Narok. What is happening? Well, we're joined by Charles Owino, police spokesperson.
That the police is undergoing reforms, and therefore many people do not understand what reform means. Many people think reforms is maybe changing the individuals who are sitting there. That could be part of it, but most importantly, according to me, I think it is doing things in a different way from how we have done them. And the first example was our legislations which were put in place, and to put you right on that.
Yeah, please.
One, the judiciary did not appoint a person from outside, because the person who was appointed was an advocate of High Court, yes, and a prominent lawyer, and he was not from outside. Judge. But that does not mean you are from outside. It is like, for example, now our laws are becoming more better, that today I can work in the police, and today I can leave and go to another place, and tomorrow when there's an appointment in the police, I can apply. And that time I'll be considered from outside, but I'm a member of the force. I'm particularly in record, having said that we want a police officer. And I don't want to say that the fact that we got a police officer, we have failed. And that is why I was giving you the background, because I'm telling you, I told you that reform is about doing things in a different way.
But what's different there?
I want to...
Apart from those appointments, tell me,
yes,
in the village,
yes,
how different is a policeman operating?
Exactly. Now,
in the local police station, how different is it?
It will come to that just now. I'll be able to
start from there.
Yes, and be able to tell you why I need your participation as Mutegi in the process. The process was, first of all, to do legislation and have this gentleman in place. And you are aware that we have not even placed people in counties, we have not placed people in districts and so on, because of the reform process. Now, what we are saying is that our vision today in the police is to be a world-class police service, which is responsive, friendly, and professional. Now, when you talk about responsiveness, especially, Mutegi, I'm sure today, if there's an emergency here, and I ask you to make a call, you will just make a call to the individual policeman you know. You may not make a call to Kilimani police station. Maybe you don't even know the number, if it exists. And responsiveness, when we talk about responsiveness, like look at the case in Narok, look at the case in Bungoma, look at the case...
The case in Narok is that they went there with the pikipikis, they told the policemen to come, they didn't come. That's what they said.
Excuse me.
That's what they said on TV.
Exactly, exactly. And that is where I'm bringing you to, as Mutegi and the rest of Kenyans. That look at the case in Narok, look at the case in Bungoma and in Busia. And generally the cases in Kenya. Our major problem is responsiveness to incidents. How do we respond? How do we respond to incidents? One, the public themselves are not even aware. They don't even know the numbers that they are supposed to call the police. The society is not participating. You may have a police post, and I'm sure you've never visited.
It's not fair to blame the victim.
No, fine. I'm not blaming the victim. I'm talking about. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about general responsibility of all of us as a nation, because you find even in your own home, maybe you visit your home and you've never visited your police post, even to know the number of the police officer in charge of the police
Can you tell us, Narok, why did this policeman not, when the people went there with the pikipiki,
yes,
why did the policeman not go?
That is what you have heard. But what I'm talking about is responsiveness, and I wish you give me time to explain to you a general thing that will help the whole nation.
Be specific.
I'm very specific on responsiveness. Let's assume you call the nearest police post or the nearest police station. You are not looking at so many factors. You are not looking at maybe the distance between the people and the police. You are not looking at the number of the police officers at the police post. You are not looking at the status of the road between the police post and where those people are. You are not looking at the facilities, if they have a vehicle or not. Because we are just fond of complaining. There are incidences where we can blame the police for lack of responsiveness. And that is why we are coming up with systems that demand for accountability of police officers when, for instance, we respond. For example, we are looking at a situation where if you call a police station and you call our call center or communication center or the control center, we are looking at a situation where, because we have incidences where people have called the police report office and the officer replies very badly and disconnects the phone. Now, we are looking at a system where we can come up with a software where if an officer is on duty and he logs in his password, when you SMS the station or you call, you get a response on your phone, and it even tells you it's Police Constable Owino on this number responding to you. And that will also enable the supervisors to be able to tell, why did this officer not respond? So accountability is a major factor in whatever we are doing every day, and these are things that must be worked on collectively.
Yeah, just to come in.
Those are things in police headquarters in your head, not in the police station.
Yeah, just to come in, because there's something that I believe is very important.
Yes.
I mean, looking at the U.S. situation,
Yes.
there was public and police working together.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, you're talking about public participation.
Yes.
What are you doing to reach out to people out there so that they also participate? Because this is not the first time you're calling for public participation.
In the current Police Service Act, unlike before, we have what we call the County Policing Authority. The County Policing Authority is an authority that will bring in police officers within the county under the chairmanship of the county governor, because the county governor and his people understand how they want to be policed in this particular region. And once the county governor comes in, the committees of the police, where we have the officer in charge of police, officer in charge of CID, and officer in charge of administration police, they come up with solutions to their problems. I saw Governor Mutua talking about Machakos case, where he's saying that they are even going to buy vehicles for their police officers in that region. That is people participation. And that is why I'm saying it is not about the blame game. It is about how do we move forward as a nation. As he says, it is in my mind at police headquarters. Yes, it is in my mind, but what comes from my mind must go down. And that is why I require your support and your participation. But when you become evasive and want to blame the police, you still get insecure. And that is what we are saying. We must interact the way we are talking now. We must accept where loopholes are. We must accept we have not performed so well, but we need the support of the people. Now, through the County Policing Authority, we are going to have more stronger community policing programs, because community policing programs involves participation of the people. People will decide on what they want in their region. Like, for example, the constituency where I come from, we have a lot of brewing of changa, for example. And therefore, the county governor will be interested to know why the officer commanding police station is not able to bring these people to book. And he will also be looking at, I know there will be hue and cry from the women brewing changa, but they will be able, as a county governor, to come up and say, yes, I have a solution for you. We can give you what you need to understand, Mutegi, is that one, we still have the same structures that we had before. We have the Inspector General and his deputies up there. But down here, we still have the same structures. We still have the same people. For example, I want to tell you a very interesting thing. It's only in the police service so far. You know, it reached a point where even when we complain about salaries, it becomes very difficult to add a salary because if you are, for example, dealing with job group M in the police, in the civil service, job group M is a very low level. It's a level of a DO1, and that is the level where our senior assistant commissioners of police, the head of CID in a province, is at the level of a DO1, for your information, in job group M. But government sometimes find a challenge because the government regulations is that you cannot be in job group M unless you have a master's degree or you have more than 10 years with a first degree. But you see, the police service was a neglected service. Nobody wanted to work in the police because the remuneration was very poor, terms of service were very poor. So what happened is that many educated people would join the police and then they would run away. So our older colleagues who are resilient, maybe without very high education, with basic education, survived, became resilient, and provided services to us up to the level where we are. And we must hail them for the sacrifice they have made, despite poor services and so on. But as now things are turning, that we are looking for standards, and maybe there will be a demand, for example, that for you to be a county commander, you need to have maybe a degree. Then you will find the top cadre from the rank of, let's say, superintendent or senior superintendent, up to even deputy commissioners. You may find very few may attain that standard that is required. And we are a disciplined service. You cannot demote these officers. So that will now call for the Police Service Commission and his team and the Inspector General to look at an avenue. How do we ease off these resilient Kenyans who have worked very hard and sacrificed for us? Because if somebody, for example, is 50 years old, he was a deputy commissioner, and you are saying that you must have a degree to become a county commander, because definitely there will be no way the police will remain behind. That means that maybe very young people who are superintendents will take up these positions. But how do you deal with the older person? Do you throw him to the dogs? Do you throw him to the dustbin? So these are patent issues, Itegi, that will have to be discussed, and we need your support. Like, for instance, when we'll be asking for a better package for these older men who may not meet the standards, so that we don't meet them in the street with dirty coats, then let it be. So we are saying that a lot of things ought to be done, a lot of structures ought to be done, and you must participate, and Itegi, you must give us your best child to join the police.
Right, just a concern here, because you've talked about, do you know the number of this police post and all that. What are the latest hotlines, so that even if something happens to me, I know if I call this number, I am assured that I will get support? What are those?
I've not carried the numbers here, but last week I sent the numbers to, I think, Naomi. No, I sent the numbers to Mbogwa, one of your presenters. I sent the numbers to her, especially after our Inspector General had given his personal number. They asked for more numbers, and we gave. But I would like you to listen to a bit of our proposal, and which will need your support, because you'll see people will say that, oh, police are demanding too much or such like things. Communication and accountability is very important for us, and that is why the counties will play a very big role, and the governors, because every governor will look at his region, and when we present a problem, it will not be a problem of the police, it will be a problem of a given region. We must be able to reach the police. We must be able to give police numbers, telephone numbers. Because currently you find the PPO is using his own mobile number. This PPO must sleep. So if you call this PPO and he's not responding, he's sleeping, then you say police are not performing. The OCPD must sleep. The OCS must sleep. We have duty officers at night, and we have the duty officers at night to undertake these functions of the OCPD, the PPO, and even the PCIO. You remember the other day, Mutata police, and he was getting all briefings. Today, they may choose to because the special branch guy on the ground has to pass his communication to the top, and the top has to bring the communication down. And they are not directly according to me, I will first of all not move for the house because I can live in a tent. Yes. According to me, there are basic things that we have to do. Like I've talked about response. We must be able to provide proper communication system to the police, all police stations and all police posts, so that we can have these OCSs, these OSPDs and PPO sleeping at night, and enable the officers, the duty officers, to work, and they be called only when very necessary. And we must also hold police accountable, that when you call, you are able to know whom you have talked to, and they must respond. And if they don't respond, we have an action to take. And also when they receive the calls, the officers must be able to reach the scene, because how will they reach the scene that you are calling them? And remember, police is doing everything. Maybe Gary has your vehicle has gone to pick somebody who has died, or has gone to a scene of accident. People are crying the other side. So we must provide facility, not just cosmetic. We must provide facility. Remember, we have been a disciplined service. We were so closed up that you could not open up and talk. Mutegi, you are lucky that today the constitution and changes in government is enabling me to come and talk to you. Before, I would not come here and talk to you. So you must appreciate that the police is opening up and has grown. What remains is your participation as members of the public to realize the police is for you. And you must also hold us accountable for what we are doing and ensure that you are given the best. The same way you would not want a poor doctor to treat you, you must also demand that you don't want a police officer who is not reliable, or who is not interactive.
What about corruption, particularly in traffic? That
corruption
it almost ended in 2002, but then it came back in a big.
Corruption in traffic is very easy to manage, Mutegi. It's a matter of you demanding for accountability. I would again throw it to you. There are so many inside issues that it's not fair to discuss on open forums like this one, because issues that we discuss privately for purposes of discipline. But you must ask yourself, if cars are causing accidents, I want to put a very interesting challenge to you. You find between Machakos and Kibwezi and Mombasa, you see so many
participation and of course the numbers that you, because that's the point.
Yes.
Because if I have the numbers, I can always call.
Yes.
There's Kosibon from Lavington says the lines of the police that you're citing, you're talking about, never work. We were invaded by thieves on Thursday. There was no response from control room or Mudangari police station.
You for contacting Dangari police station. You've been served by Police Constable Owino, and they give you my number. And you find it in your phone. It is not expensive. It is cheap. But that will only help us in terms of accountability, so that tomorrow, if that officer did not act, the OCS is able, when you complain, there's evidence. Otherwise, the officer ataruka. So we are looking for accountability and systems that will make us, as police, also accountable. And this must be put in place. Because we are just complaining about police, but nobody knows what is going on in the police.
Yeah, Jimmy Wafula from Nairobi says the public is not to blame for poor staffing, lack of vehicles. Why is the spokesperson backing up the wrong tree?
I think he does not understand the intrigues. When I talk about the public, I'm not talking about my mother at home. I'm talking about every one of us responsible for providing those facilities. The public come in, for instance, where we want to give information. I want to give you a very good example, Garissa. Northeastern is a very difficult province to run, especially when it comes to giving of information. Because you find that as a police officer, to get information from members of that community against an intruder who is a member of the community or who is from the same clan is impossible. So the public must be responsible for that because they live with the criminals. For example, when you go to South B, between Mata Hospital and there's a new road passing there, why have the public gone to put houses and kiosks in a place which had been cleared, creating a slum, making you insecure when you pass there? Is that responsibility of the police? When you go and put slums everywhere? When you refuse to accept the planning of the city? Who destroyed the planning of the city of Nairobi? It's the public. So people must be able to conceptualize and internalize issues why they are having problems within their own societies. I remember there was a time when OCS in my constituency would go to undertake raid for Chang'an. Our MP would say he went to school through Chang'an and nobody should bother people who are brewing Chang'an. It is irresponsible. You take it back to the public. So what I can tell you, for example, you get drunk in a nearby place, and then you walk in a dark street to your house at night. And then tomorrow after you've been hit, you blame the police. You are responsible. And when we talk about the public, we talk about every structure of the government apart from the police, because we also have our weakness. Find wamejenga, they have built houses for workers. Today, people are coming to build industries here. They don't know where their workers live. And these are principles that the public can demand in parliament to ensure that every industrialist must have a place where the workers are going to live, so that these slums in Kibera can go. You want to remove slums in Mathare, the politicians who have been elected there will not be comfortable with you. And as long as we have houses that are not numbered, we have estates that are not organized. Even when you call the police, I'm in Lavington, the police may not even know where. He may take 30 minutes looking for your house. So these are basics that we must look into. There is much more that we need to discuss. But the county policing authority is really going to help us, because when you go to Meru and you are with your governor, you will know what is affecting your village. You will discuss with him. The governor will discuss with the officer of police in charge of the region. And at that time, we will not be moving officers every day. An officer will stay for a given period of time so that he knows his area, unless he's totally incompetent. And these are the things that we are fighting for. We are not talking for Owino now becomes the boss. Now Owino start looking for Luos. Are you getting me? That I cannot work with a Kikuyu, I cannot work with a Turkana. We are Kenyans. That is just God which brought those kind of tribes and languages, because we became indisciplined, and therefore God had to give us different languages. But we must accept that we are a nation. We must work together. And like now, security is important, because the president and his deputy are saying they want a double-digit growth in economy. You cannot get a double-digit growth in economy if there is insecurity.
Absolutely. Maybe to conclude, there were reports previously about the differences between the Inspector General and the Police Service Commission and the Office of the President. I don't know whether they even went to see the President. I don't know whether these issues have been resolved, or whether they're the ones causing mayhem moreover.
I've just told you that elections interfered with our reform program.
Yeah.
Those teething problems are bound to take place. Even in your own house, you differ with your wife and your children on principle. That does not mean that there's a big rift in your family. You must understand that the Police Service Commission is a new concept, and there are regulations that they follow. We are officers of the law. So there's a way we worked before, and there are beliefs we had as policemen. Now the commission, actually that Police Service Commission has 5 policemen. Out of 9, 5 are policemen. The Inspector General, his 2 deputies, 1 retired police officer, 1 retired administration police officer. There are only 4 civilians in that commission. And because of regulations, they had to get clearly who is responsible for what, who transfers officers and why. And we must have to look at our former background. Why did we bring these regulations? Could there have been a problem that when a Luo was Commissioner of Police, he only placed Luos in certain places? Mm-hmm. Maybe when a Kikuyu was Commissioner of Police, maybe he only placed Kikuyus in a certain place and they had a lot of authority. Was there a need now to have a team of people who can break these genes and look for the best? So these problems are bound to happen, and I think the smaller nitty-gritty problems are just a matter of procedures. How do we move forward? Mm-hmm. Who calls who for what meeting? Who does what? So these things are bound to happen, and I believe that we have a very able team of 9 police service commissioners. And we believe that, like me, for example, I believe that if I'm a problem, for example, in the police, then it's better I leave and leave the police officers who are better, so that I am secure as a civilian instead of being insecure as a policeman. And that is why Mutegi, I said that the major problem that can only be there in the police is how to fill the positions and how to ease. Because remember, all ranks from assistant commissioner up to senior deputy commissioner 1 are to be collapsed to 1 rank of assistant inspector general. There are people who had gone up and there are people who are saluting them, and they need to maintain that salute. That kind of rift, that kind of change may cause ripples. And also there may be demand. You may find a very officer you term junior superintendent becoming an assistant inspector general, and you are deputy commissioner and you cannot meet the threshold to become a superintendent. But I've said very clearly that we must respect our older colleagues who have survived in this force with very little salaries, with very poor working conditions. And the commission, the team of the commission, must get a very good...
Those kind of people you are saying shouldn't be stay, I think, are the ones who shouldn't be eased off.
No, I'm saying
I'm
this.
afraid we'll
no,
have
no,
to
no. Let me just
conclude
for you, Mutegi.
Just a final
what we are
word.
saying, if the older people are to go because they don't meet the threshold, maybe standards of education and so on, we don't throw them to the dustbin. We must prepare for them a very good package to appreciate what they have done for the last 35, 30 years, so that we don't see our bosses with worn out coats and shoes in town here. Right. It will give us a bad image. Mm-hmm. Yeah, our seniors, if they are to go, they must go with a good package.
Okay.
Yes.
So that wraps it up for us. Thank you so much indeed for your questions. We totally appreciate talking to the police spokesperson, that is Charles Owino, as far as the security situation in the country is concerned. It's been a great honor serving you today. I'm Johnson Mwakazi.
I'm telling you.
Of course, Charles Owino. Many thanks. All the best. See you tomorrow as God wills.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks.